Hey now, what is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and the time has arrived for me to talk about my favorite superhero movies of 2018. What I'm really doing is I'm ranking all of the superhero movies that have come out this year. There have been 11, at least that I have seen. So let's start at the very bottom. At number 11, Batman Gotham by Gaslight. What? A Batman movie is at the bottom of my superhero list? I know. I wanted to like this movie more. I wanted to love this movie, honestly. But I did like the premise. I like the setting of how it takes place in old times, and you have Batman trying to hunt down Jack the Ripper, and you see Jack go after some of Batman's classic characters like Poison Ivy and Catwoman. But once you got to the end and you get to the reveal of who Jack the Ripper is, I don't want to spoil it here. I already talked about it in my review for this film, and I did go into spoilers there if you want to really hear me get into it. But it lost me. It completely lost me, and I immediately checked out. Number 10, The Death of Superman. Another DC animated movie, which usually DC puts out some great animated movies. They have put out some great animated movies, but this one seemed very paint by numbers, or just your typical, like, I've seen this story so many times with Superman, and I understand why they wanted to do it, because they did the Doomsday story in animation form so many years ago, and they felt like they could have done it better or done it right. But then when you get to this one, it is still changed. It is still updated and changed to match what's going on in the current DC universe, with characters like Wonder Woman and her past relationship with Superman. They have him back with Lois Lane here to have that moment of his death and her mourning him. And then the animation I didn't think was all that great. It was very jerky and stoppy, and just the background of certain scenes, it looked like a picture. Nothing else was moving. And then the fight between Superman and Doomsday, yes, was intense. Yes, it was crazy to see Doomsday nearly decimate the whole Justice League. But I wasn't emotionally engaged like I wanted to. It was fine. Speaking of DC animated movies, though, and this sounds harsh. It sounds like I'm just putting all of the animated movies last, but that's not the case. But at number 9 is Batman Ninja. Now, this movie is insane, is crazy. The Japanese setting, the Japanese anime-like look, seeing Batman fight ninjas and have the Joker be this crazed villain in that garb, seeing all of the Batman characters like Robin and Nightwing and Penguin and Catwoman and Harley Quinn, all of these various characters and more, drawn in anime form. It was cool. So don't get me wrong. I had fun to a point with this movie. It just is very bizarre. It is very insane. It almost went too insane for me, especially when you get to the point where Batman and Joker are fighting each other in giant robot form. Number 8, Venom. Another movie that I wanted to love even more. And I think the movie's fine. It's a time waster. It's fun. It has its moments. It has decent action. I think Venom, his look and how big he is very comic book accurate. And so I can be appreciative of that, I guess. Tom Hardy does go for broke when it comes to acting, and the double personality and the insanity that he does, especially in that restaurant scene. There's so many moments where Tom Hardy just insane performance, and he's a great actor, so you shouldn't be surprised. I just thought this movie could have been written better. I thought the plot could have been laid out better. I thought the villain, Riot, was very underwhelming, very lackluster. Michelle Williams, I thought, was wasted a little bit. She had some decent moments here and there, and sure, that last scene of Carnage, Woody Harrelson, look, we're going to get a sequel. This is going to happen. I just pray that it's much, much better. Number 7, Ant-Man and the Wasp, which honestly I might put this one step above in retrospect with some time past. But Ant-Man The Wasp is a fun Marvel movie. It had a tough job of having to follow a certain Marvel film that was very sad, especially the ending of it. So you had to jump right back into the funness of it. But I still laughed a lot. I love Paul Rudd. I love Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp. I like seeing a superhero that is a father. You have Michael Douglas. You have Michelle Pfeiffer. You have the villain, Ghost, who I thought was fleshed out very well. Her and Lawrence Fishburne was used to great effect. Number 6, Aquaman. Aquaman, I enjoyed. I thought it was great to see finally the Aquaman story and the origin laid out on screen. I feel like this movie should have come out before Justice League, but I've said that before. Jason Momoa gives a great performance, very charismatic, fun to watch, fun to go with. Nicole Kidman was a badass. Amber Heard as Mera was great to follow. And you have a couple of villains, Patrick Wilson and Black Manta, who I enjoyed seeing. The movie is a bit long. It's 2.5 hours long, and it is long-winded in some scenes. There are a lot of underwater war battles that can be fatiguing at times, but I think the good outweighs the bad. Number 5, Incredibles 2. Here's an animated film that's a little higher on the list. I will admit, maybe not as good as the first Incredibles, but still just a blast to follow this family. I love that we didn't age them up because of how many years it's been. It's been so many years since the first Incredibles, but we kept it right after the first movie. We kept them all at the same age because look at how much fun we had with not only Mr. Incredible being a stay-at-home parent, and you have Elastigirl going out and being the hero, being the focal point, which was nice. But you had characters like Jack, and you had Violet, and you had all of these kids doing what they did. And maybe the villain, like some people said, is the weakest point of the film when you compare the villain to the first movie. Yeah. Number 4, Deadpool 2. Here's a movie that I'm not so sure I would have this high on the list if I did this list right after I saw this in the theater. But after watching the extended cut, the super duper effing cut, as they put it, I've really enjoyed the film that much more. I think there were some much needed scenes that set up Fire Fist's character. Could just have them tell you, which they did in the original cut, but when you see it, when you see him being tortured, you feel his pain more, and you understand why he's so close to becoming a villain. And with that backstory, he wasn't as annoying as I found him the first time around. Obviously, the rated R humor and the jokes that Ryan Reynolds is able to pull off with Deadpool have me laughing almost every time. Characters like Domino and Cable were great to add on and have fun with. Number 3, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which honestly, I wouldn't blame anyone for having this as their number 1 favorite superhero movie. This film is insane as far as the animation goes, as far as being innovative, being something fresh, being something different. I thought the soundtrack was great. Miles Morales as a character is so likable and so relatable, and I love his relationship having Peter Parker, who sure maybe didn't go down the best path on his Earth, and he's kind of a bum, and it was amusing to see Jake Johnson bring that out of the character. But the Easter eggs, the love letter that this movie felt like for Spider-Man, it does remind me of the Lego Batman movie, but honestly, I like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse more. Number 2, Black Panther. This movie was so culturally important in movie history, superhero history, comic book history. Black Panther is a character that I didn't know how they were going to pull this off, how they were going to make this work, how serious they were going to treat the culture and everything that goes with his history and his family. But we got so much. His sister Shuri, a lot of these characters were great to get to know, but also Killmonger. I can't stress enough how much Michael B. Jordan stole the show with not only this movie, but for Villains of the Year. Here's a guy who you watch and you see where he came from, you see what happened to his father, and you see how he was almost cast out of his birthright. You're almost on his side. He's one of the few times where I see a villain and I go, they might have a point, or they might be right, and maybe they should win. My number one favorite superhero film of 2018. Surprise, surprise! Avengers Infinity War. Yes, oh yes. Marvel, 10 years of Marvel making their films, starting with Iron Man and building up to this big event, and almost doing it in a subtle way where, yeah, sure, we had our after credit scenes, we had our Easter eggs, we had the Infinity Stones in all of these movies, but I feel like for comic book fans, it was enough to get us giddy and to get us to speculate and to get us to just beg and anticipate this as much as we did. But for non-comic book fans, this was something new. This was something epic. This was a cinematic universe that has really never been attempted like this before. We have a serialized TV show on film. In the movies, we watch a continuous story. Marvel has pulled that off successfully, where in a movie like Avengers can make other films that some people might not have taken seriously before. Movies like Doctor Strange or Ant-Man, and films that maybe you missed, but when you watch this movie, it makes you want to go back. It makes you want to rewatch these movies, take these characters more seriously. You have all of the established characters because they had their own films. So we know their backstories. We know where they come from. We know them as people, so we don't need that in this movie. They just pop in, and seeing them interact with each other a lot for the first time, it's so much of a delight. I had a blast, not just the first time watching it, but every time I've rewatched it. I've seen this the most in theaters out of any other film. The ending, yes, was super sad. The snap, everyone dying, Thanos fulfilling his prophecy and killing half of the universe, which is something that I never thought they would actually do and go for it. But they did. And as upset as I was at the time, as depressed as I might have been at that time when I couldn't sleep, and who knows if we'll ever get a big level event like that again. So guys, that's my top list of my favorite to least favorite superhero films of 2018. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with some of my list, or do you disagree. What do you have as your number one? What do you have as your least favorite? Like, comment, subscribe. Later!